Welcome to the deep dive. Ready to dive into a topic that's, well, more exciting than it might sound at first.
Definitely. And trust me, it's way cooler than what they taught us back in high school biology.
Exactly. Today, we're taking a deep dive into photosynthesis.
We're going way beyond plants just being green.
We're going to uncover why this process is not just fascinating, but actually crucial to life on Earth.
It's true. Most people see photosynthesis as pretty simple, right? But
It's like plants, sunlight, they make food, done.
exactly. But the deeper you go, you realize it's this intricate dance of reactions.
It's all happening at a microscopic level, which is what we're here for today. We've got this awesome lecture to dig into, and it doesn't just explain the basics.
It's full of surprises.
Get ready for some aha moments.
Yeah.
So remember learning about photosynthesis in school? It's like plants use sunlight, right?
Right.
And they take carbon dioxide and water and they turn it into
Sugar.
their version of a hearty meal.
Glucose, to be precise. But yeah, their main energy source.
Glucose.
Yeah.
That's right. And they release oxygen
As a byproduct.
as a byproduct. It seems simple enough, but it's actually mind-blowing when you consider that oxygen.
Yeah.
That's not just some random thing. It's the foundation of most life on Earth. You, me, that cup of coffee you had this morning,
It all goes back to that.
all dependent on this one process.
Right.
So to really appreciate it, we got to unpack the science a bit, but don't worry,
We'll keep it fun.
keep it engaging. Photosynthesis happens in two main stages,
Okay.
the light-dependent reactions, and then you've got the Calvin cycle.
Okay.
Think of it like two acts in a play. Act 1, we're capturing the sun's energy, and then Act 2.
Building blocks of life.
Exactly. And the stage for all of this is a spiralized organelle inside plant cells. It's called the chloroplast.
Like a little green kitchen.
Yes, where the magic happens.
Exactly.
And inside, we've got our star of the show, chlorophyll.
Yeah.
You know, that pigment that makes plants green?
It's why plants are green.
Exactly. But speaking of colors, you know how plants are green because of chlorophyll. Well, it turns out there are other pigments hanging out in there too, like carotenoids. They're just hiding.
They are.
They absorb different wavelengths of light, and get this, they're responsible for those vibrant yellows and oranges we see in fall foliage.
Exactly. When chlorophyll breaks down in the fall,
Gets out the way.
they get to shine.
It's like their time to party.
Exactly.
That's so cool. I never realized that those colors were there all along, just hidden.
Hidden pigments.
But okay, let's get back to Act 1 of our photosynthesis play. What's actually happening during these light-dependent reactions?
So basically, plants have this incredible mechanism to grab light energy and convert it into a form of energy they can use. It all starts in the thylakoids.
Thylakoids. Remind me of those are again?
Those are the sac-like membranes you find within the chloroplasts.
Gotcha, like solar panels.
Exactly. And embedded in these solar panels are chlorophyll molecules. So when light hits these molecules, they capture photons, those tiny packets of light energy. And that captured energy, it boosts electrons within the chlorophyll to a higher energy level.
Okay, so I'm picturing these energized electrons just like bouncing around excited.
And here's where it gets really cool. These energized electrons, they don't just bounce around aimlessly. They get passed down a chain of proteins. We call it the electron transport chain.
Like a relay race.
Exactly, a relay race for energized electrons. And the goal is to create a kind of energy imbalance.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it like water building up behind a dam. As the electrons move down the chain, their energy gets used to pump protons across the thylakoid membrane.
Protons, those are just hydrogen ions, right?
You got it. And this pumping action, it creates a proton gradient, basically a difference in concentration, and that stores potential energy.
So it's like storing up energy to be used later.
Exactly. And this proton gradient, it drives the production of ATP.
The energy currency of the cell.
You got it. But that's not all. Remember those electrons from the relay race?
Yeah.
They don't just disappear. As they reach the end of the chain, they're used to reduce a molecule called NADP plus A, which then forms NADPH.
So we've got ATP, the energy currency, and now NADPH. What do those do?
Think of them as the fuel that powers the sugar factory in the next stage.
The VIP backstage passes.
Exactly.
But before we move on to that, you mentioned something earlier about oxygen being a byproduct, and I have to say, that's kind of a big deal, right?
It's a huge deal. I mean, we always hear about the Amazon rainforest being the lungs of the earth, but the truth is that oxygen we're breathing right now, it comes directly from the splitting of water molecules during these light-dependent reactions. Plants literally split water apart, and oxygen is released as a byproduct.
It's amazing to think that every plant around us, from these towering trees to the tiniest little blade of grass, is contributing to the air we breathe.
And it just shows how interconnected life on Earth really is. Plants provide the oxygen we breathe, we exhale carbon dioxide, which they need for photosynthesis. It's a beautiful cycle.
It really is. It really makes you appreciate how intricate nature is.
It really does. And speaking of intricate, we've captured the energy from the sunlight.
Right, we've got our ATP and NADPH,
You got our backstage passes.
our VIP passes to the main event.
What happens next? This is where Act 2 of our photosynthesis play begins, the Calvin cycle.
The sugar factory is open for business. So tell me what's happening in this Calvin cycle. It's all about building glucose, right?
Exactly. The Calvin cycle is where things get really productive. Remember those energy molecules we talked about,
Yeah.
ATP and NADPH?
Yeah.
The Calvin cycle uses that energy to convert carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into glucose.
So it's like taking those raw ingredients, the carbon dioxide from the air, energy from the light-dependent reactions, and turning them into this delicious, energy-rich sugar.
Precisely. And every good recipe has a key ingredient. In the Calvin cycle, that star player is an enzyme called rubisco.
Rubisco.
That sounds familiar.
It's a bit of a celebrity in the plant world,
Yeah.
and for good reason. It's the most abundant enzyme on Earth.
The most abundant enzyme on Earth, that's a pretty big deal. What makes it so special?
Well, rubisco is responsible for grabbing those carbon dioxide molecules from the atmosphere and attaching it to an organic molecule. It's called fixing carbon. It's that first crucial step in the cycle that eventually leads to the creation of glucose.
So it's like the ultimate carbon capture technology.
Exactly.
No wonder it's so abundant.
You're telling me, but there's a catch. As amazing as rubisco is, it's not perfect.
What do you mean? I thought it was the star player.
It is. But even star players have their off days. Sometimes instead of grabbing carbon dioxide, rubisco accidentally grabs oxygen. And this little mishap is a process called photorespiration. And it's not ideal for the plant because it wastes energy and resources. So it's like rubisco has an identity crisis sometimes.
Kind of.
Sometimes it's this carbon capturing hero. Other times it's accidentally sabotaging the whole process.
That's one way to put it. And this quirk of rubisco, it has huge implications, not just for the plant itself, but for agriculture, even our global climate.
Okay, now I'm really interested.
Well, because rubisco plays such a central role in photosynthesis, in plant growth, scientists are always looking for ways to improve its efficiency.
Make it better.
Exactly. Imagine if we could minimize those times when it accidentally grabs oxygen. This could lead to faster growing crops, higher yields, even more carbon being pulled out of the atmosphere.
Wow.
It's a fascinating area of research.
It really is. It's and feed the world.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. But even with its little quirks, the Calvin cycle is still this incredible feat of nature. When you really think about it, plants are essentially building themselves out of thin air, taking carbon dioxide, this invisible gas, and transforming it into sugars and starches, even proteins that make up their entire structure.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is. And it's not just their structure they're building, it's the foundation of the entire food chain. Everything that eats plants, including us, relies on this process.
All comes back to photosynthesis.
It all comes back to
Yep.
photosynthesis. So
Good.
we've covered the basics, the intricate details, the VIPs like chlorophyll and rubisco. Is there anything else we need to know about photosynthesis, or have we pretty much covered it?
Well, we've covered the core concepts, but there's always more to explore, right?
Right.
Photosynthesis, like life itself, is full of surprises. For instance, did you know that recent research suggests that plants can actually sense and respond to sounds,
Hold on.
particularly the sound of flowing water?
Wait, plants can hear. Are you serious?
I am completely serious. Studies have shown that plant roots will actually grow towards the sound of water, even if it means taking a less direct route. It's all about maximizing their access to that essential ingredient.
Wow. Plants have so many secrets. It seems like every time we think we've got them figured out, they're like, nope,
Exactly.
we've got more for you. So they can hear. What else can they do?
Well, for one thing, the way plants photosynthesize, it isn't one size fits all. Remember we were talking about rubisco being a little inefficient sometimes, especially in those hot and dry conditions?
Right, because it grabs the oxygen instead of the carbon dioxide.
Exactly. Well over millions of years, plants have evolved different ways to overcome this challenge. Some plants, especially those in harsh environments, they've developed alternative pathways like C4 and CAM photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis 2.0. Okay, so tell me what's so special about these other types of photosynthesis.
They're incredible adaptations to very specific challenges. Let's start with C4 plants. like corn and sugarcane. They've evolved this way to supercharge their carbon fixation process, making them super efficient even under intense sunlight and heat.
So C4 plants are like the marathon runners,
Exactly.
built for endurance.
Exactly.
What about cam plants? What's their specialty?
Cam plants are like the owls of the plant world. Think cacti, succulents.
Okay.
They've adapted to these extremely arid environments by opening their stomata, those tiny pores on their leaves that allow for gas exchange at night.
Oh, at night.
This minimizes water loss, allowing them to thrive in deserts and other dry places.
Wow, so C4 plants are maximizing efficiency, cam plants are conserving water. It's like each plant has its own little strategy for thriving.
Exactly. And it all points to just the remarkable adaptability of life, the power of natural selection to come up with these ingenious solutions to life's challenges.
It really makes you realize just how incredible plants really are.
It's humbling, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And here's another mind-blowing thing. That incredible process we talked about, where plants split water molecules to release oxygen,
Yeah.
that's not some recent invention.
No.
That goes way back.
Way
How far back are we talking? Thousands of years?
Yeah.
Millions?
Try billions. Scientists believe that the oxygen-producing part of photosynthesis, that evolved over 2.5 billion years ago.
Billions with a B.
With a B.
Wow. So those tiny little organisms have been photosynthesizing, releasing oxygen, shaping the planet for billions of years.
Right?
It really puts things into perspective.
It does.
Photosynthesis isn't just something in a textbook. It's the foundation of our world. It shapes everything. The air we breathe, the landscapes we see.
It's a beautiful example of how something so tiny can have such a huge impact.
I'm in awe of photosynthesis. It's elegant, it's essential, it's got a few quirks. It's just plain cool.
And the more we learn about it, the more we realize we don't know.
That's true.
Which is kind of exciting.
It is exciting. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
We've got a lot more to learn.
We do. With all that we're learning about photosynthesis, do you think we'll ever be able to harness its power in new ways? Could we create artificial systems that are like photosynthesis in a box?
It's a fascinating thought.
Right.
And it's something that researchers are actively exploring.
Wow.
Imagine a world where we could actually replicate the elegance and efficiency of photosynthesis.
Create a more sustainable future.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing to think about all that potential just kind of locked away inside every leaf and every blade of grass. Well, listeners, it seems we've stumbled upon our next deep dive rabbit hole. But for now, we'll leave you with that thought. What if we could unlock the secrets of photosynthesis to create a greener, more sustainable future? Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never underestimate the power of plants.